Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
Happy Monday, everybody, and welcome inside The Lock Shop. Nielson and Hus back with you once again. Thank you very much for joining us here on a Monday. We got some NHL picks that we'll get to. Pat Gregoire is going to pop by from Coolbet, of course, our presenting sponsor of The Lock Shop, and we got a lot of NFL action to recap from the weekend. Hus, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. A little double victory Monday for the Jets on the show today, this afternoon, and obviously the kingdom still standing. Patrick Mahomes kind of still standing. And, I found out where I'm going next weekend. It's not Atlanta. It's Kansas City for what should be an amazing AFC Championship weekend. Tell you what, games were fun. I mean, I'm still choked about that Saturday night game. I mean, we whiffed on that one. I really thought the Giants were going to be able to play with Philly, and that was a massacre. They just got embarrassed, and I don't know. We'll get to Pat, and we'll talk about these early lines going forward.
Yeah.
But bottom line is I think the four best teams are still playing right now, and man, the championship weekend's going to be unreal, and so will the Super Bowl, regardless of who wins on Sunday.
That Giants game, I was 3-1. I mean, it was a good week. But I remember when we were doing the Lock Shop Friday, I said, I've been kind of flip-flopping back and forth on this, but I'm going to stick with my guns on the Giants. And I had them in a bunch of parlays at plus 10.5. And it was only the only game I missed on, this week, but I had them in so many different parlays. It was a killer. It was a killer. And I look back on it and go, we were both on it. I thought we made some good cases for it. And then I remember some of the other stuff I'd read on the Eagles. But still, I mean, sure, could the Eagles have covered? Yeah. But to see the Eagles pump them the way that they did, I felt like such a jackass. I was like, how could I have not even seen this as a remote possibility? Like, that was tough.
The second on that first drive, first couple plays were relatively short. And then the second Hurts hit Devonta Smith on that 50-yarder on that first drive. I just had a pit in my stomach going, oh, man.
Here we
Philly
go.
really is good, aren't they? And I said this. I mean, well, maybe I'll be proven wrong. I haven't given Philly enough credit all year. And, man, they looked unbelievable in that game. And they got San Francisco, who I've sort of been on the entire time. But holy smokes, I mean, that is a heavyweight tilt that we've got in that NFC Championship game.
Yeah, it's going to be an amazing game. Both these games, I think you're right. Best four teams in the NFL are still alive this year. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you very much for subscribing. Closing in on 600 members now on YouTube, so let's keep that going. When we get to 1,000, we're giving away $1,000 cash. So tell your friends to hop on and subscribe to the Lock Shop. The chat's already rolling there as well. Let's bring in Pat Gregoire from Coolbet. He's going to join us today, and of course, I think still a proud member of Bills Mafia, but let's see how Pat's doing today. Patty, how you doing, bud? That was a tough one.
It was a tough one, but it was probably the least painful of the beatdowns and the heartbreaks that I've had over the years, whether it's with the Bills or the Leafs or Notre Dame getting blown out in national championships and then Final Fours, whatever it may be. I've been through heartbreak. They're never easy, but this one, no doubt, I think was the easiest. They got their asses handed to. They got the wheels beaten up. Whatever term you want to use, like, that's what happened. And if you remember last week, I was saying, like, I would be hammering the Bengals here for sure. Did I know it was going to be a blowout like this? Absolutely not. But just the way the two teams line up, kind of the foreshadowing that we had seen from the Bills leading up to this, I had a feeling that it was not going to end well for this team, and certainly did. And I almost am kind of glad that it happened this way, because now it just goes and shows, like, management and ownership that, like, this was a very fraudulent team, and this isn't a Super Bowl contender, despite, if you look at some books right now, Coolbet doesn't have theirs yet, but already opening up as favorites to win next year's Super Bowl alongside.
Really?
Hus's Chiefs. Yeah, which is insane to me. There's just so many holes. Like, they're close. I'm not saying like Brandon Beane needs to blow this thing up, but they are so far away in some certain aspects that they're going to win a lot of regular season football games. But when it comes to like winning the big game, they're still far away from it. And again, I was probably one of the bigger supporters of Gabe Davis going into this season, but he clearly proved he's not a number 2. Their offensive line could not withstand injuries, which look what happened. They had the worst O-line in the game, and this was the big storyline. The Bengals, like, what are they going to be able to do against this Bills pass rush? I said to you guys, and Hus echoed it, I think, as well. This Bills pass rush was not the same without Von Miller, and they clearly showed. I would have no problem with them going out and grabbing a new offensive and defensive coordinator. I don't think it's time to get rid of Sean McDermott just yet, but I think there's going to have to be some big changes at One Bills Drive in Orchard Park coming up.
You know, I mean, just on that, I mean, the line play was something that was so much of a big conversation going into that game. And never mind keeping Joe Burrow clean for the most part. I mean, who saw Joe Mixon running? Cincinnati was getting 7, 8, 9 yards. And in the second half, when the Bills are trying to get the ball back, you give up runs of 8 and 9 yards on first down. It is the worst possible scenario because they get an extra down or two to get that first down. The clock keeps running. My question, Pat, is, and I mean, for Bills fans that have watched every game, you'd be a good person to ask this. It doesn't seem like Josh Allen was close to being the Josh Allen he was after he got hurt. I think there's still something going on, and it wouldn't be surprised if we hear more about that today as they clean out the lockers. But was it just me, or does it seem like Josh Allen, there was something holding him back after he missed that time earlier in the season?
Well, when you look at the stats between this year and last year, like the eye test would tell you that like Josh Allen regressed. But when you look at the numbers, his numbers are nearly identical, close to the same amount of touchdowns, close to the same QBR. Run game was just as strong, a few more fumbles, but that's just Josh Allen. That's what you're going to get. You kind of have to live and die by him turning the ball over. That's just the type of player that he is. But the eye test, as mentioned, yeah, you definitely could see something was up. I don't know if it's more the fact that it was Josh Allen being hurt or Ken Dorsey not putting Josh Allen in the right ways to succeed. And I think this just goes to show you how good of a coach, not just what he was doing with the Giants, but if you compare what he was able to unlock with Josh Allen with Brian Daboll. Like, Josh Allen certainly missed Brian Daboll, scheming up a lot of things for him, allowing him to use his legs, more designed runs, not necessarily Josh Allen just going out there and scrambling. And I think that was a big factor. I think when it came down to this, the only way this team was going to succeed is if Josh Allen put up video game numbers. And that's just not something you can do week in and week out. And I'd be curious to find out if, when it's all said and done, we find out that UCL tear was bigger than what we kind of anticipated. But I'm kind of erring more on the side that Ken Dorsey's just not the guy for Josh Allen. And the way that this team is constructed, if he's not good for Josh Allen, he's not good for the Buffalo Bills.
Quickly, Hus, are you drinking water instead of pop? What's going on?
Well, listen, I only have one left. And I know I've got a long WST show. So unfortunately,
it was so weird. You brought up a bottle of water instead of pop. I was like, what's going on here?
Shout out to Vita Health, great sponsor of WST. I do sometimes then. Yes, the Diet Pepsi is my normal go-to.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have time to get to 7-Eleven, though, before WST. I'm saving my last quick slam for the show. And
that's great.
Maybe even do a big shop, which is for me going to Shoppers and getting a couple 12.
Oh my God.
I thought maybe the New Year's resolution was starting on January 23rd for you, Hus.
Just running low. On the Diet Pepsi for now. That's good.
We all know the new year.
Yeah.
starts the Monday after Super Bowl.
100%.
So,
100%.
we're essentially on our calendar, the Lock Shop calendar, we're just getting into the holidays right now. Divisional weekend, championship weekend.
Mike on YouTube says somebody needs to Uber Eats Hus some pop immediately. We can't stand for Hus drinking water on the Lock Shop. Okay, so looking ahead, let's take a look at the games. But the Super Bowl odds are up for the 4 teams, and it's wide open, which is a really fun conversation to have. But just looking at these 2 games right now, the Niners are 2.5-point dogs right now against the Eagles. I'm pretty sure I was on Coolbet this morning and saw it at 2, so it's kind of bounced back. And then, look at this. Because this morning this was at 1. Right now the Bengals are a 0.5-point favorite against the Chiefs. That's moved 1.5 points since I was doing my radio show earlier on today. So, Patty, just your thoughts on what you guys are seeing right now early on these 2 lines and what they've been set at.
Yeah, I think this is kind of the catch-22 with the opening lines. A lot of the sharp bettors, that's when they like to place at least one of their wagers is when it opens up. So we obviously have been seeing more money coming in on the Bengals, but if it was me, I would be waiting until we hear more about what's going on with that ankle of Patrick Mahomes. I couldn't decide yesterday when I saw this open up, is this more of a number that the books are now finally showing respect to the Bengals?
Yeah.
Or are we not too sure what's going on with Mahomes? Because if Mahomes is nowhere near where he can be, where he's going to be dynamic, and let's be honest, he's talented enough, he's got the arm strength enough to be a pocket passer, but the electrifying best quarterback on the planet, maybe best, one of the most dominant athletes in his game right now is when he can get out of the pocket, when he can throw those ridiculous plays. So if he's not able to do that, I'd certainly be interested in, betting on the Bengals. But now that you see, like, you can get the Chiefs at -111, like, I'd certainly, like, I don't think, unless it comes out that Mahomes is really, really hurt, I don't think you're going to get a better number on the Chiefs here. But I guess this goes into showing the history between these 2 teams and how the Bengals have been able to play against the Chiefs. That one's interesting to me. In terms of the 49ers, I think if we saw a better effort from Brock Purdy yesterday, maybe this line would have been closer, but within a field goal, that's kind of where I projected things to happen. And we're seeing a lot of money or more money coming in on the Eagles right now. If the line moves closer to more than a field goal, maybe the 49ers supporters might come in there.
Yeah, I mean, as far as that Bengals-Chiefs game and the Mahomes injury, listen, I'm not sure how much information we're really going to get this week. He's already said that he's playing. Everyone knows that he's going to play. And I think they'll probably try to be coy. That being said, I think the performance that Joe Burrow and the Bengals put on, what they did last year, the fact that he's 3-0 against Mahomes and the Chiefs indicates that this will continue to be where the money goes. I'm, from someone that would logically be jumping on the Chiefs in some way or the other, I'm with you. I wouldn't be surprised if we get to, and it may not be at kickoff, but at some point this week where the Chiefs might actually be a slight underdog. But I think this is going to get down as pretty much a pick 'em on either side. So, I mean, right now, -111 on the Chiefs, -105. Doesn't get much closer than that on the money line right now. And I think that'll sort of be the trend. And from the Niners perspective, I'll be honest, with the way Philly played on the weekend, I kind of thought that this might be more like 3.5. Like, Pat, do you see this? Like, if you're thinking about betting Niners, are you better off waiting to see whether it might get to 3?
100%. I think you have to. I absolutely think you have to. Yes, the Eagles look great, but I think we all drank the Kool-Aid of the Giants and Dable and that offense rolling.
I
did for sure too. That was the one game that I got wrong. I didn't bet the Bengals, but I said if I had to, that was 100% going to be my bet. So I think that's the case, but I do honestly believe that with the way that the 49ers played, I thought, yeah, you're right. It probably should have been. But again, I do think that if you're leaning 49ers, certainly I would hold up, because I don't think this gets closer. I think it's going to only grow. And to kind of go off what you were saying there, Hus, with the money line in the other game, I just quickly checked, almost smack dab completely in the middle. 55% for KC, Bengals at 45% there. So almost dead even. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get pretty much a pick 'em close to kickoff. I think we'll see the ebbs and flows, as we always do, as money comes in, sharp money comes in, public money comes in. But I think this one's going to be super, super close. And I think, it's going to be an awesome weekend with both these games. I think are going to be really
the matchups are so good. Dusty, I mean, listen, I know we always sort of focus in on the spreads, but what do you think of the totals? A 46 being hung up on the NFC game between San Fran and Philly, and only 47 between the Bengals and Chiefs. And the Bengals have won games in some different ways this year. And listen, their defense did such a good job on the road against Josh Allen. I think that speaks to it. But
well,
man,
the first thing that kind of first pops up just quickly on the totals when I see them is that 47 is obviously a number with a banged up Mahomes, clearly, right? Yeah. Like if you're like, that's why I'm wondering what it would be like if Mahomes was healthy coming out of this game, like 51 and a half, like it would have been, I think, quite a bit more. So I think I'd probably lean over on that one. I have to think about the other one a little bit more and dive into a little bit more, because I do think the Niners offense is going to score much easier against the Eagles than they did against the Cowboys. And the Eagles are going to score because that's what the Eagles do, even against the Niners defense. So, that's a tough call. I like the over in that Bengals-Chiefs game, that's for sure. Pat, I know you have to get going here right away. Hus and I will take a look at those Super Bowl odds right now, but you got any quick thoughts on those totals?
The totals, I agree. I think that we'd be looking at like 51.5, 52 somewhere if Mahomes is playing. And if you think that not playing, but playing at full strength. But if you think that come game time, he's going to be able to make magic work, which he normally does, even if he is on one leg, I would probably be looking at that over 47 for sure, because let's be honest, even with him hobbling, he's still going to be able to make plays. He still has dynamic targets, and we know Joe Burrow and that offense, if they need to, they can be in high scoring games, like Hus said. So I'd be leaning there. In terms of the 49ers-Eagles game, before yesterday, I would be saying 100% hammer that 47. But with the way that Brock Purdy looked yesterday and how good that defense is for the 49ers, I actually think they might be able to stifle that electric offense with the Eagles. So I don't think I'd be playing the under, but I don't think I'm playing the over. I'll have to wait and see where that.
Yeah, that's a total I'm going to wait on or stay away from entirely, I think. Yeah. All right, Pat, we know you got to hop on the edge there with or the hedge with Andrew Walker, so we'll let you go, and we'll catch up to you later in the week, buddy.
Later,
awesome,
Patty.
Boys, take care. Thanks for taking it easy on me on the Bills loss. I really appreciate it.
Same old, buddy.
Awesome team. It was that. Listen, we had the three best teams, and shout out to the Jags. I mean, they did have that cheesy backdoor cover.
They did cover.
I was more worried about winning the game, and they probably deserved to cover when you consider the turnovers and where they happened. But man, we got two amazing championship games, and I'll be there in KC next weekend, Patty. So we'll do a video or something from the tailgate beforehand for the peeps on the Coolbet channels.
Absolutely. Barbecue review. Gotta happen.
See you later, man. There you go. That's Pat Gregoire. Before we got a couple of NHL picks today, but Hus, the Super Bowl odds right now over at Coolbet. I find this fascinating because I mean it's wide open right now. You got the Eagles at plus 250, you got the Chiefs at plus 250, you got the Bengals at plus 300, and you got the Niners at plus 335. And I'll be honest, with the way I'm ranking these things right now, I almost feel like it's the exact order that I like it. The Niners at plus 335, Bengals there, and then the two home favorites. I get it; they both had phenomenal seasons. I don't know where to go with this. I think the best value is probably on the Niners, just because they're the longest odds.
Well, there is, and let's face it. Like 10 days ago, if you'll recall, the Niners had jumped the Eagles when it came to the odds in the NFC and in the Super Bowl. And obviously that's done another flip after we saw how good the Eagles were on the weekend. I can never remember anything like this before. Usually, you'll have two teams that might be close, but I mean, not even I mean, basically, we're talking about plus 85 separating all 4 teams. And it's another very interesting conundrum for me with those futures, because I have a Chiefs Super Bowl bet at 11-1 from preseason. And that was made when the Mahomes MVP bet went in. And then I've got the Niners NFC bet at 7-1. So I'm sort of covered on that. I am so unsure of that game. I mean, I always joke that hedging is for gardeners, but there might be a reason to at least throw part of that bet in on an Eagles money line and get it done. And then, I mean, obviously, if you wanted to take it on the other side, a Bengals side at 3-1 for the Chiefs side, but I'll probably just let it ride. As far as right now, if you were jumping on, listen, I think you're right. I think these odds are absolutely fair. I wouldn't be surprised if actually by the time we got closer to the game, that Bengals number came down a little bit and might be at like plus 280, and maybe the Chiefs fade a little bit just because of where we're going. But the bottom line is I can't remember 2 closer lines at this point for championship games in a long time. And as far as your top 4 remaining, you can make a case that any one of these teams can win. And I guess if you believe in the worst possible scenario happening all the time, Cincy and Philly, because I'd managed to lose the Niner NFC future and the Super Bowl bet all in one weekend. So maybe that's the idea for me to check out.
All right, let's slide over to the National Hockey Late Night Hus. Just 4 games, but where are you going?
Well, people are going to laugh here, but I'm actually jumping on the Panthers bandwagon. Panthers have been playing much better, and they have to right now. I mean, they're now up to 3 games above 500. But when you look at the NHL standings right now, they still have a lot of work to do. They played more games than the other teams in the mix. Panthers right now have 51 points in 48 games. And if you look at the Pittsburgh Penguins, who are holding down that final wild card spot, they're 3 up with 2 games in hand. So the Panthers don't have the wiggle room that they maybe thought they had in the first half of the season. But as I mentioned, they played very well lately. They just beat a very good Wild team in their last time out. They had a very tough game, back and forth, losing in what was an OT to the Leafs. They pounded Montreal. They beat Buffalo. They beat Vancouver all in their last little bit. And they did have a big road win in Colorado against the Avalanche in the past couple of weeks. They're in New York to take on the Rangers. This game, and I was looking at some advanced numbers and whatnot, looks like it's pretty much a pick 'em. Could go either way. I'm going to take Florida. I think they're going to be the more desperate team. They absolutely need to have this game. And, Maurice has got them playing a little bit better right now. So I think there's some nice value on the Panthers at plus 119 in a game that probably should almost be the other way around. And here's one for you. Over in the Buffalo-Dallas game. Now, we can always count on the Sabres games to more often than not get goals. Here's the thing, though. The Stars are coming off back-to-back shutouts in their last couple games, and it does look like Ottinger is going to be in the net. That being said, all good things come to an end, and when they do, it often reverts back to the mean very quickly. I think we're going to get a bunch of goals in this game. I think Dallas will score them, but I think Buffalo will as well. So I'm liking the over 6.5 in that Buffalo-Dallas game, which right now is at minus 120. Where are you going?
Well, there's not a lot of value tonight, so I won't even be playing these individually. I think I'm just going to put them in a parlay. In fact, I already have put them into a parlay. Calgary, right? Johnny Gaudreau in town. Back in town tonight against the Calgary Flames. The only way, I'm going to go Calgary in regulation here, minus 213 just in regulation. That's a 2.5 point on the puck, or 2.5 goal on the puck line right now. So very heavily favored tonight against just an awful Columbus Blue Jackets team that's going to roll in here and get destroyed by the Oilers on Wednesday night. And then I'll go with Toronto bouncing back after letting one slip away against Montreal, against an Islanders team that is just reeling right now. They've lost 8 of their last 9. Toronto had won a couple, looked like they're going to beat the Habs, let it slip away. So a refocus and a bounce back for the Leafs tonight, just on the money line at minus 233. Calgary in regulation tonight, minus 213. Put them together, you're going to get plus money. So just a little parlay tonight in the National Hockey League, plus 110 for Toronto money line and Calgary in regulation. You got some tennis action tonight too, don't you, Hus?
I do. I do have a little tennis action, and I got in, was getting ready. I'm like, oh, looks like the account's taking a little bit of a jump overnight. That's one of the great things about these overnight Australian Open bets. Shout out to Tommy Paul for his big win. I got 2 here. Now, there's this Czech guy, Lehečka, not to be confused with Gitch Lishka, a lock shop regular. But I wouldn't be surprised if this is somewhat of a variation of his name, actually, because I think he's got some Czech background. Anyways, he's going up against Tsitsipas. Lehečka has been amazing so far, has had some big, gutsy wins, got it out a 5-setter and is upset over 11 seed Cameron Norrie, and has already taken out 3 of the top 16 seeds in his last 3 matches. I'm not sure that he wins this match, but Tsitsipas is way overvalued considering what we've seen from Lehečka so far. And if you take him plus 2.5 sets, we're getting minus 137. I think he wins a set for sure. I wouldn't at all be surprised if this one goes 5. I could see him winning. But as far as a nice conservative play, that this one goes at least 4 sets, we're going to take plus 2.5 on Lehečka. That is at minus 137. And then I know we've talked a lot about Nelly Korda when we're talking about women's golf. And by the way, shout out to Brooke Henderson.
Brooke Henderson
does it again. 13th win. I was talking to Dave Poulin. You know, like when you sign on with a new sponsor, new bag, she's now gone to full TaylorMade. Wins in her first time out. Like, I'm not sure what the bonus on that is, but it should be about triple a normal bonus because here's your new bag. Go out.
You would hope.
Tournament. Anyways, the reason why I bring up Nelly Korda, one of the best swings in all of golf, but it's her brother, Seb Korda, who is making noise right now at this tournament. He's going up against a veteran. Karl Khachanov is a slight favorite. Certainly Khachanov has way more experience, but Korda is made for the hard court. Been awesome so far. He's a minus 125 favorite on the money line, and I've got him as well. So Lehečka plus 2.5 sets at minus 137 and Korda minus 125. Both of those are in. And, you know, for the Lehečka pick, what you got to do, much like you do on hockey to get some of the props, click on it. It'll expand. And you'll see some other options. But Korda, just looking for the win, minus 125. Let's get a little bit of momentum happening with these Aussie Open picks as we get into the second week of the tourney.
Before we wrap up here, I just saw a little notification come through. Andy Reid told reporters that quarterback Patrick Mahomes worked hard on the treatment and is doing okay. But as you said to me, Hus, before we came on here, Joe Burrow's a problem. Joe Burrow's a problem for all you Kansas City Chiefs fans.
Going to be keeping me up. He's already kept me up at night before. And it was sort of like, it was a real 6 of one, half a dozen of the other after the Chiefs survived that game. I mean, I would have been fine either way. I think the Bengals are better. Obviously, the Chiefs get the home game against the Bengals, and hopefully that will help. And
yeah,
certainly it would be fun to go there. But even though there's the history of how close that game was last year and the unfinished business of the Buffalo after 13 seconds, Joe Burrow continues to do it. I mean, he just stares down everybody on the other side. There will be absolutely no intimidation. He expects to win. And it was funny. I don't know if you saw the on-field interview afterwards.
To get those refunds.
Get those refunds. What a line. And you can tell that he and they had been waiting to say that all week long. And yeah, listen, I think this is going to be it would be a real shame if Mahomes was really limited. But hey, I mean, it's a tough game. You got to man up. And I'm pretty excited about this weekend. We may have to do the show. Well, no, I guess we'll do it at the normal time. By the way, tomorrow, here's one thing that will change a little bit. The Farmers Open is Wednesday to Saturday this week because they didn't want to go up against the championship games. Big brain thinking by the PGA Tour. Very well done. So I think we may need to get the Farmers picks in tomorrow.
A busy hockey slate and golf picks tomorrow.
Yeah, big slate of games. And then, yeah, we'll start working closer to making some official picks in the lock shop for championship weekend in the National Football League.
We'll talk to you then, buddy. See you, man. Talk to you tomorrow.
Later.